All right. Good evening, everyone. Warmer weather we're having out there. We've got an appropriate meeting for this evening, it being May Day, which is actually kind of May Day. You might scream if you're in trouble. But as most of us that live in Florida know, we are coming into next month hurricane season. So
I have to stop you, Alicia. Do you know
yes,
where May Day came from?
no, but
It's French and it says help me and it's
yeah,
midday. And so it has become its own word, but it
yeah,
it
it
definitely
has.
was about help. So do you need
Yeah,
help?
yeah, yeah. There you go. Um, so like I said, most of us are in Florida. We've got one person on right now that's in Northwest Ohio, and they deal with their own issues up there. Right now, they're dealing with a lot of rain. They're getting flooding. They've gotten drought. My father is, for one of a better terminal, farmer, and we talked with my parents last night, and they got a bunch of rain again, and they sit way back off the road, and a lot of times the water floods the fields, and we call it Lake Bostorp. Um, but it's Bowling Green. It's where they live, and I used to, when I lived up there, I used to always jokingly call it Blowing Green because I thought they misspelled it because you can get a lot of wind too. Anyway, with all that chatter in mind, I am going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to our illustrious past district governor, Will Miller. And he's going to give us a little talk, a ditty, on disaster preparedness. So, all yours.
Okay, let me see if I can make this magic happen here. Try this. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. We've got a picture of the E-Club there.
Mhm.
Let me try this. Just a second. Why will that not do screen down? Hang on. Okay. All right. Let's try that. Don't ask me why this is scrolling 3 times or 4 times until it settles down. That's just not good, but that's the way it is. Okay, the information I'm going to share with you tonight is a little different than some of the presentations I've done before. I'm not going to talk so much about the nuts and bolts of preparation, but I'm going to share with you some reasons why people don't prepare, why people, individuals, or sometimes companies and organizations don't prepare, even though it's quite clear that they should. Let me try this. This is not working like I wanted, and I have no idea why that's scrolling so much. So the last poll that that folks did in our area around Tampa Bay, all the cities around Tampa Bay, they determined that 60% of the population doesn't prepare for anything. And so I'm going to talk just a little bit about that, why that is. And then we'll talk a little bit about risk versus reward. What is preparedness? What we can expect ahead in terms of challenges. I'm not going to talk much about mitigation strategies, resources, or timelines because that's really irritating. I'm sorry, folks. There's some sort of a macro enable that causes all these to scroll. Then we're going to talk about in preparing reward versus risk. Is it an investment to do these preparations, particularly if there's money involved, or is it just a waste of money and time? And let's say you don't prepare, well, who's going to help you? That's all important. Maybe you shouldn't prepare. Maybe you ought to take all that money and take a Caribbean cruise every year. So, is there smooth sailing ahead? I've got to find a way to stop that scrolling. It's really not good. Smooth sailing ahead, or maybe other things. The pictures on the left and the lower right were all within a few days. Taken within a few days. Mississippi River Basin flooding, and that is continuing. The more snows that melt, and a lot of the upper regions had good snow, so there's a lot of water. And you know, before they put lots of levees on the Mississippi, it would just flow out, I guess, kind of like the Nile, and fertilize things, and there weren't a lot of people in the floodplain. Well, now there are, and they're having to suffer. It's kind of interesting that an EF2 tornado with 130-mile-an-hour winds can take a 2-ton car and just fly it through the air. It's almost amazing. Lake Orville, California. California's been in a big drought, and there you see a side-by-side picture of what it was before the drought with all the boats, and now the boats are crammed into one little area. And of course, the proverbial Florida hurricanes. So why plan and prepare? Why not just hope for the best? A lot of people do that. Do you feel lucky? Do you? Suppose we just do nothing and magic happens. That's one of my favorite quotations. I don't remember where I got it, but do nothing and magic happens. So what's coming to various areas of the United States? These are some recent pictures from, this one's from India, the other one's from Africa, the large fires. But you've seen flooding, we've seen more tornadoes. Of course, you've seen the hail, the size of quarters, 50-cent pieces, and baseballs. And that did some tremendous damage to crops a few years ago. But this is kind of in priority of how much you see of these things. You see more flooding than tornadoes, although tornadoes are increasing. I captured some parts of the new what's called enhanced Fujita tornado scale. And it starts off from an EF0, goes to EF5. There's some meteorologists that are talking about adding an EF6, which would cover winds of 350 miles and above. But right now we just go to an EF5. EF5, the most violent tornado. A lot of times they refer to an EF5 as an earth scouring tornado. In other words, there is nothing left but a foundation if you're on a slab. Otherwise, it'll scour down to bare earth. But even EF1s classified as weak can do a lot of damage, particularly to trees. And in earlier presentations, I talked about how you can go to National Arbor Day Foundation and find out what to do to prepare your trees for tornadoes. Not for tornadoes, for hurricanes. This is a not too rare picture, actually, of a tornado with associated lightning. That's from some time ago, but it's still a pretty awesome sight. So if you plan, it relieves the panic of preparation, uncertainty of survival, and the pain of recovery. Personally, I don't like panic, uncertainty, or pain, which is why for the last 20 years, I've been preparing at my little homestead here in Bel Air Bluffs on the coast, on the Gulf Coast. So you don't want to be like these folks. You know, what do I do? You've got this 1,000-mile stare if a hurricane is coming. And you know it's going to happen. There are certain threats out there that we just know it's going to happen. You know, in my county in Pinellas, it's one of two high points if there's a big storm surge, but we know that things are going to happen. So I just want to ask you, this is one of my favorite couples here. This is actually during Katrina. And I ask, is this your level of preparation? But before we get too critical of our friend George there and his wife Matilda, you got to realize that he did some level of preparation. He's got his toilet paper and he's got 3 different kinds of beer. So, I mean, what more could you ask for a guy who truly wants to be prepared? So there are reasons for disaster denial. And some of them are logical. Many of them are not logical at all. It just won't happen here. I've heard that from a lot of folks. I was giving a presentation a number of years ago up in Tarpon Springs, the Greek fishing and sponge diving area. And the head of the Chamber of Commerce said, could you give this presentation to us? Because the merchants just don't think anything's going to happen in Tarpon Springs from a hurricane ever. I said, why is that? He said, well, because we have the big Greek Orthodox Church here in Tarpon Springs that will protect us. Well, they ignored the fact that a couple hundred years ago, a major hurricane slammed Tarpon Springs. Well, anyway, there are lots of excuses. So then I was asked to speak to a similar group in St. Petersburg. And again, I got the same thing. Can you talk to our Chamber of Commerce people here? Because they don't think anything will ever happen. I said, why is that? Do you have a Greek Orthodox church there? They said, no, we have Indian burial mounds, and the Indian burial mounds will protect us. Well, I don't know how much mojo there's left in an old Indian burial mound. You know, it may run out like an hourglass, but I wouldn't count on that. And then I've heard, well, there's a big lodestone off the coast of Tampa, and that vectors the hurricanes away. So yes, it will happen there. Second reason, technology will either prevent or fix it. I have talked to some researchers who have said, well, there's one high-tech company in Clearwater that actually can use technology to vector hurricanes away. I haven't been able to confirm that. Don't know if that's true or not, but some people think so, so they don't prepare. Or, okay, you don't prepare because local, state, and federal officials will just jump right in. FEMA's going to be at your door within 24 hours with a hot cup of coffee and some nabs, and everything will be fine. Well, don't count on that. FEMA has not been funded as they should be over the years. And the state and localities are basically in charge of getting major services up. Electricity to your house. If the standpipe for the electric service to your house is ripped out, that's your problem. You got to fix that before that power will come back to you. And the feds are sometimes slow to react. But it won't affect me, or only minimally. And for any number of reasons, people say that. You know, for some reason, they're the great exception to what happens. And then defeatism, you know, what happens, happens. It's just going to happen anyway. It doesn't make any difference what I do, positive or negative. It's all going to end up the same way. Those people may end up with pain and panic. So some other reasons, this is all testing your eyesight, of course, as these scroll. Poor public awareness. I would say it's difficult to lay your lack of preparedness on that because during hurricane season, every TV station is running some kind of a special on past hurricanes and what to do. Every county and city is holding some kind of a seminar. So I don't know what rock you might have been under if you were not aware that hurricane season is coming, and there's some things you ought to do. The next one, hard to see the benefits of preparing. For those of us that have been in disaster preparedness and mitigation over many years, that's one of the toughest nuts to crack, because a lot of times there are some big dollars involved in preparing. I have spent the equivalent of probably 10 to 20 Caribbean cruises on hardening my house, having impact windows up to 135-mile-an-hour winds, hurricane screens that I can roll down over sliders, tying my roof to the foundation, things of that sort. Oh, and also having my own electric system. And yeah, I haven't broken even on those particular preparations, but neither am I going to be replacing any windows or be suffering with a handheld fan. My AC is going to still be on. Although one of my neighbors told me, said, "Will, if you're going to have power and everybody else doesn't, I hope you've got some big blackout shades to go over your windows at night." So there's a thought too. Another reason for denying disaster or the preparation for it is overestimation of capability. That's either your capability personally or your city, counties, or municipalities' capabilities. I talked to the mayor of Largo some time ago, and he said, "You know, I came across a real good deal for the city of Largo." He said, "I bought a snowplow." Well, I was absolutely incredulous. I say, Woody, why did you buy a snowplow for a city that has no snow? He says, "Debris clearance on the roads." And immediately I thought that was really good. He said, "Yeah, and after we cleared all our debris, we will rent it to the other municipalities." So pretty cool idea. And another is underestimation of the risk. And that's particularly true with hurricanes, rising sea levels, tornadoes. People just don't think about how great the risk is. Then you've got a few more reasons why people do not prepare. We're talking about low probability events. It's a low probability, although it is an increasingly greater probability, but it's still fairly low, of a major hurricane, you know, Cat 3, 4, 5, or a tsunami, or a nuclear accident incident. We particularly don't have to worry about that right now because we broke our nuclear power plant up in Crystal River. But those are the kinds of things that people don't prepare for because they say, once in a blue moon would we have a major hurricane. Well, not so sure these days. And then another reason is the ambiguity of responsibility. Somebody's going to take care of this problem. It's on somebody's to-do list. Well, maybe not. What if it's not on anybody's to-do list to go and check on your particular apartment or condo complex that you actually have power? I don't know. So there is some good news in all of this. And the good news is that you can start doing a disaster plan today. And if you go to florida.gov and a few other places, they've got skeletons of disaster plans just laid out very neatly. So that is a good thing. There are a couple of things that I will tell you about mitigation. If you had the choice between putting duct tape on all of your windows or strengthening your garage door, which do you think would be the best thing to do? Anybody who's not muted?
Garage door.
Yep, exactly right. 65% of roof failures and wind damage enter the home at the garage door, either because of an old door or old garage door tracks. So if you're going to put a little money into hardening your place, hardening the garage door is one of the first things to do. Don't bother about the duct tape. That's pretty much a waste of time. Everybody has demonstrated that. It's been demonstrated in the lab by firing 2x4s at 100 and some miles an hour at a hurricane window with duct tape on it. And all the duct tape does is keep some flying glass from hitting you in large pieces, but not worth it. You have a choice, go for garage door versus windows. And another best practice is to have a NOAA weather alert radio. Now, I don't know about what? Oh, is your dad? Yeah. Yeah, they're about $40, sometimes less during hurricane season. You can get them in a whole lot of places.
Not Radio Shack.
Not Radio Shack. Yeah, I need to update that. Not
Yeah.
I don't know. They may still be online. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, anyway. Walmart, your grocery store generally have some during hurricane season. They run around.
Amazon.
Amazon is good too, yeah. And they just stand by 24 hours a day quietly, except for tests on Wednesdays, and they will let you know, not just for hurricanes and tornadoes, but for lots of other events, flooding, some other. Yeah, lots of stuff, but it only is for disaster-related things. So that's a help. You ought to have at least one, maybe two. So, question and answer time. Any of them? Go back to, let me stop sharing screen here. Okay, stop sharing screen. Oh, there we go. Stop share. It's big red. Okay. Got any questions, comments, suggestions? How many of us have been through at least one hurricane? Oh, wow. Actually, 75 miles an hour and up would qualify you for the club. I have been through two, one when I was a little boy in Hampton, Virginia, 110 mile an hour winds, blowing limbs past my upstairs window like in The Wizard of Oz. And the other one, unfortunately, was at sea on a rock and roll Navy destroyer where they didn't have the satellites to warn us. And they sent us right into the middle of a probably a Cat 3 hurricane, 80-foot waves. And we were actually concerned that the waves might crash over the stacks enough, even though they're diverters in the smokestacks, and put fires in. It was a really white knuckled time, 80-foot waves. So yeah, I learned a lot from those two, but I've learned a lot more over the years. Any questions? Anything you'd like to see the next time I do this in a couple of years?
Where do you put your documents? If you got all these documents, where do you put
Yeah,
them?
you got deeds and wills and all kinds of things. Well, you can put them on a thumb drive. That's one thing. But let's say that you have them all printed out. You throw them in a big Ziploc bag and you throw that into your front-loading washing machine or even your dishwasher. You'll see pictures of front-loading washing machines and dishwashers out in the middle of a farmer's field after a tornado, and the door is still closed. So most people don't realize they've got a waterproof safe right there. Suzanne, you had something. Okay.
No, I was thinking the cloud. Because
Oh,
nowadays
yeah.
everything is, and of course the cloud is
in the
not
cloud.
there. The cloud is
The-
somewhere in the desert in Arizona or something.
Yes,
Probably.
it's
No, there's
some
5 of them. If
5
you go
clouds.
to a cloud, there's 5 different deposits where these things are stored. So nothing is up there. That's where the angel's supposed to be, you know.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
I think,
always-
yeah, Doug has a,
Yeah, Doug.
Well, the paper documents, you can always make part of your go bag, things that you have ready to go. If you have to abandon the homestead, you've got
Right.
your cash, your ID documents, etc.
Yeah, I with all the paper I have, I'd have a 500-pound go bag, but
Well, the really key ones.
yeah,
Not saying the mortgage to grandma's farm or anything, but you
no,
know.
no. But you know, the divorce papers and the custody.
There better
The-
be
the-
another copy somewhere.
the paid off mortgage letter.
The ones that are in progress. You know.
Yes, all of the above.
No, well, I can tell you that water is the biggest detriment of all of this. And no matter how secure your house may be, we have friends who had a house on the water in St. Pete, and there was a storm in the spring, and they were going to have their roof repaired. No, actually replaced, I think. And
Mhm.
so the guy had put tarp on it, and he said, "Don't worry." So their entire ceiling came down
Oh,
because there was water damage that did go through the tarp. And the problem with this is their entire house had to be gutted because of the possibility of black mold when you
Yes.
return. And the
see.
problem with that is it worth doing? Because it has to be, the value of the house has to be, I think that the repair cannot be over 50% of the value of the house. And so they were thinking, and they were homeless for about a year in
Gee.
various different places. But this idea of repairing is just as detrimental as the fact that water seeps into your house.
Right, right. I asked a builder friend of mine years ago what things he had done to harden his own house, which was in Dunedin, not too far from the water. And he said, I haven't done anything, absolutely nothing to harden my house in any way. He said, that's what insurance is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, surprise, you may be on a 6-month waiting list to get
Yeah,
that stuff
yeah.
fixed.
Mhm.
well,
I-
and on top of that, like, we made documentation of all the stuff that we had done to harden this house, and we sent it to the insurance company, and they lowered our rates. So, you
Well,
know,
that's good.
yeah, that's another benefit. So, you know, if you do the garage door thing, you could send that to your insurance company. They will usually send somebody out to take pictures and actually physically document it, but there's a good chance that you could get your rates lowered. So,
Yeah. And that's money in your pocket, you know, so
Yeah.
that is a good investment, a good return on investment.
And you can then put that towards the lawyer in case you have a problem with the construction
There you
company
go.
that just ruined your house, which is exactly where our friends, because
Yeah.
not only did they had air ducts replaced with that roof. Oh, let's do it all at once. And they cut out part of the house, the roof construction, so that whatever caved in a little bit more. And now they had 2 companies that they had to go after with the, this is a Rotarian, by the way. He should tell
Oh,
us,
yeah.
you should invite him and he could tell you all about
Yeah, that's a horror story, isn't it?
it. Is.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So
Well,
Dad-
I
this is
think in
Well-
Florida, another good recommendation is to follow recommendations for evacuation, especially if you live on a barrier island.
oh, yes.
And when we first moved to Florida, we did live on a barrier island on the East Coast near Melbourne. And we had not had a major hurricane there for like 100 years, and then one hit. And we evacuated to my son's house in Georgia.
Mhm.
But when I came back, we needed a new roof. And another problem, the insurance was great. The insurance paid, but is finding supplies.
Oh, yeah.
finding a roofer or a contractor to do the work.
Yeah, because everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's got some kind of repair they need.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so-
with my husband's evacuation route just north to Tampa, to North Tampa, took quite a few hours.
Oh, yeah.
Driving home was not so bad, he said.
You know, when I worked down in the Keys, there was a hurricane coming towards us, and of course our command center, military command center, advised us, and they said, no reason to evacuate. We're not going to have an evacuation because it's not going to hit us. But one of my office mates said he wasn't taking any chances. He's taking leave, and he was leaving the Keys and going north. He had a hurricane follow him for 5 days. The poor guy came back looking like a beat racehorse. He was just.
Well, at least
We
he
were
had taken
fine.
leave. At least he
Yeah.
wasn't court-martialed for.
No, he was. He did take legitimate leave, but he was so damn tired driving by the time he got back. So.
So Dad, you're the only one that's not in Florida right now, but you lived in Florida. So what did, when we were down here living in Bradenton, what did we do?
He's
You're
on
on
mute.
mute.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Dad.
This works all the time. Pantomime goes far.
Should be the lower right-hand corner of your screen.
He's looking. He's
looking.
You got
Okay, there he is. All right.
I gotta change that name on there. I put my name on there when I.
I teach on Zoom. I do this all the time. So.
Well, the one hurricane we went through, we hooked your brother's Jeep, chained it to the front tree in the front yard so it wouldn't blow the tree over because the hurricane went over top of us. And there was wasn't quite a EF2, I think, but it was fun to go through. I mean, that's what we did at the house anyway. And it was fun to see the wind go one direction and then look up and see a big hole and then the wind went the other direction. But we didn't lose the Jeep and we didn't lose the tree. So that was
This is back in the 80s.
yeah,
That's smart.
that was in the 80s and 90s or whatever, 80s anyway. The harder part was the businesses. We were in the greenhouse business, and that was all plastic covered houses and so forth. And there wasn't much you could do except to make sure that you had a door open on one end of the greenhouse so you didn't pull a vacuum, which you could do. Houses were the same way. They always told you, you know, and even up here in Ohio, you know, hurricane or you get tornadoes. Sometimes they never touch down, but they go right over the top of you. And
Eerie enough.
what you can do is to stop the damage is to leave a door open. So it can't pull a vacuum on your house. Because if it does, you'll take every window out. You'll just suck them out when tornadoes go over. So you leave a door open. Hurricanes, I don't think that happened. I don't think that helped you too much, but tornadoes, it will. I mean, that's just one thing you have to do.
Yeah, I don't think they recommend that anymore, but
Well, no,
anyway,
yeah, it works. That's what we did that with the greenhouses all the time. We made sure the back
Yeah.
doors on that big greenhouse were open. We had several greenhouses. Our two biggest ones were about half acre under roof,
Acre and a half.
acre and a half total under roof. But yeah, we make sure that those back doors were open just enough to
Oh, you pull the roofs right off. Otherwise,
equalize the pressure.
they didn't bother the roof
Yeah.
much that way.
yeah.
So, but you guys have been getting a lot of rain up there. So, but are you flooded? Are you still flooded?
Well, 1.5 inches the last 2 days. Little water starting to show up again in the soft low spots.
And
But
that
we're
could,
gonna be wet for a while. It rained today again, rain tomorrow. And we won't be out of the rain till Wednesday night, and then we'll look good for 10 days or so, up in the 60s and 70s. Right now it's about 40, going down into the mid-30s.
even something like that with all the rain you've had, and like I've said, you know, there's been like Lake Bostorf in front of their house, where half the fields are, and that does crop damage.
Well, that and trees, the ground is so saturated now that when the wind blows, we were up to in the 30
Um.
on our winds today. We're supposed to be in the 40s tomorrow. It'll tip some trees over just because there's nothing. The ground can't hold the root system in place. Everything gives. It's all soggy. So that's another whole thing that you do. And you will see a lot of houses up here that don't plant trees on the southwest side of their homes because that's where the wind comes from. That's where the tornadoes come from. They always travel from southwest to northeast. So you watch where you plant some big trees. So it, you know, it does tip them over. It doesn't hit the house
It hits the neighbor.
or the neighbor.
That might not be good, but anyway. Yeah, so, you know, the
Okay.
disasters don't have to be like big, huge, immediate things creep up on you.
I suspect that hurricane in the 80s was 1985. We had just moved to Florida and we're living in Hernando County. And that hurricane, there was a hurricane that came up the West Coast and got to about Hernando County offshore only a short ways and stopped and sat there for 2-3 days and just wobbled. And what I remember is when it left and we went to town, nothing was open. Everything was boarded up. There was no commerce to go on for a while.
That's, yeah,
That could have been the one, 85.
I think so. And that's something else to think about too, you know, make sure you've got enough fresh water, make sure you've got enough food if you do stay put, because chances are if there is a direct hit, you're not gonna find anything open to get. And you're not gonna want to go out if the winds are still howling, so that's something else.
Well, thanks very much, folks. I hope I gave you at least one tidbit. As long as you carried away one tidbit, that's a good thing. That was
You've used the couple floating with the beer before, and that's becoming a
I-
classic.
I love those folks.
They don't need anything, you know.
Yeah, they got each other and
They
beer.
got what they need.
I
They got-
have 10 folders of my letters, my family letters. They're all paper, and I have not scanned them in yet, but I have good intentions
There you go.
because you know, the carrying of in and out of the car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, beer and
so-
toilet paper. That's what counts.
Yeah, no.
I still have some from COVID. No, I still have a nice big bag of, and some of us went to China and got toilet paper from there. It was $5 a roll. It was very interesting. We still have
Yeah,
that. Very
yeah.
valuable.
Old.
Well, no, it's brand new. It's all
Right now.
a friend of mine. I have to tell you this because he came. I hoped that it wouldn't get to me. I was just hoping it, but then I tried to return it and it had all Chinese, and I thought, okay, I guess I'm never gonna get this back. But my friend said he bought toilet paper and he bought what he thought was paper towels. So he brought these 2 gray bags out. They looked about the same size, and he opened the one and that had toilet paper in it. And then the other one had half a roll of toilet paper, which if you photograph it looked very tall and skinny, but it was just a less rolled up small roll of paper. And he said, "Which one do you think are the paper towels?"
Wow.
And I think he
Yeah.
probably paid $5 a roll for those 2.
Yeah.
Probably.
So that was pretty funny. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Madam President, I'm gonna turn things back over to you there.
Okay, sounds good. Just a couple quick notes. Once again, you know, Malone is not on this evening, but when she has already started, when she takes over the club president role 1 July, Her focus is going to be much more on education. We're shifting a little bit more to Africa because she's got connections. She's got Rotary connections with other clubs in Africa. But this coming Wednesday, 2 days from now at 12 noon, we are having a special Zoom meeting. It'll be all the same connection numbers, the same, Zoom number and passcode. But what we're going to do is talk a little bit about our achievements as a club, primarily in education, and then shift over. We will have school members from a school in Benin, Africa, join us, and there's actually going to be a dedication of the latrines for that school. And I'm going to talk a little bit of how these latrines have been so valuable, because students are learning more because they've got, a place to go, and even the teachers are more comfortable, able to work better. So anyway, that's going to happen again. It's 12 noon this coming Wednesday on this channel.
As in this, like in 2 days?
Yeah, I will send out the email about it on a P-mail tonight. I just didn't want to send out both and have people get confused about, the meeting times and what was going on. So I will send that out this evening to everyone. I have already put it on the calendar. It is on our Facebook page. Put it on the district calendar. And then I know that's kind of a tough time. It's people's lunch break, but it's about the best time that the school people in Benin could meet. That there will be a repeat. We're planning on June 5th on our normally scheduled meeting time at 7 p.m. where it's going to be, I think it's a 5-hour difference.
But to Germany, it's 6 right now, so I'm assuming it's 6.
It could be, it could be 6. But anyway, the head of the school will be on to kind of rehash the meeting and answer any questions, take any comments. So
that makes it 1 a.m. for them. You know that, right?
Yeah, and he said he's willing. That's why we're doing the initial meeting at noon on Wednesday, and then said he is the one person he's willing to come on and be a part of our June 5th meeting.
Will you record that, Alicia?
Yes, it will be recorded.
Yeah, Renee and I are going to be traveling that day, so won't be
Okay.
able to tune in, but I do find it that I'm able to go back and view those
Yeah,
meetings that I miss.
that's why I do it.
and
And
catch up, yeah.
I've realized that my YouTube channel had my name on it, so I just this morning just changed it to the Rotary E Club of Southeast USA and Caribbean. It just still has my picture on it, so you kind of know, yeah, I'm in the right place. I recognize her. But anyway, everything that I have recorded over the past going on 3 years now, I put on YouTube. On my YouTube, on that YouTube channel, so you can always go back and look at other recordings, and then I will have it posted on our Facebook page too, and of course on the meeting thread. So both meetings. So, anything else?
Well, we're gonna
Yeah, we're good. You're on mute, Will.
She wishes she had a mute button for me sometimes. During our Saturday training, in one of the training sessions, they mentioned, a lot of clubs are concerned about, are they able to do a service project? And she said, in the next 10 minutes, we're going to do a real service project right here in the room. And then she said, the Florida comprehensive assessment test for, I think it's 3, 4 for grades 3, 4, and 5 is coming up, I guess, this week.
This week,
And
yeah.
these kids, a lot of these kids are just terrified of this, because if they fail, they may not advance a grade. Their teacher may not get retained, and their school's grade may drop precipitously. So there's just tremendous pressure on these kids. So what they had given us, the instructor had given us some little, I guess about 8 by 8
Or 5 by
white cards,
6,
just
yeah.
plain white cards. And they said, take these, fold them in half like you're going to make a greeting card, and then make some sort of a drawing or statement encouraging these kids and giving them some hope that things are going to go well on this test. And then she collected them all. She said, next week, we're going to give these to this particular school that had this concern. So there was a service project that was done. We had, I don't know, about 20 people in the room.
In our room, but there was
Yeah, in
two
our room. And there
people.
were like, they did this in every
Yeah.
session.
which
of
means they
that
got to about
particular class.
250 cards.
Yeah, to
So,
give to these
that was
kids. And what a
Cool.
great idea.
It took like they gave us 6 minutes.
Yeah, 6 minutes.
So we could think about doing something like that. And
Yeah. That's listed as one of our club service projects for this year, by the way.
yeah.
Encouragement cards?
Yeah.
Cards.
Yeah.
Well, we could
Good
eat
for-
We should do these for seniors. You know, you get out of bed.
Step one.
Some of us already need those.
Yeah, well, we might do that for each other around Christmas or something.
Take
Yeah.
your dog to the rest home.
That's right.
I suggested to some German Rotarians, you know, take some ladies out for a walk. They were terrified. They would rather write a check.
Yeah, well,
I'm serious.
Yeah.
They do not like me. I'm hands-on.
it takes all of us. So, but it was cool. It was a long day, but that was one of the cute little highlights. Anyway,
That's very cute.
anything else this evening? We can cut out a little bit early.
I wanted to say that I'm going to be driving 2 kids. Our club is sponsoring 2 kids
yes,
for
yes.
S4TL,
We
which is
sponsored 2.
thank you.
Yes.
But I'm going to have to drive them, and I've recruited a friend to drive with me because I'm terrified of being with 2 teenagers in the car for hours. No, thank you.
Yeah, especially 2 that might, know each other and you don't know. Yeah, and the only thing we still need from I did turn in the paperwork. Jim Trimmel was at the training, so I just gave him the paperwork directly, but we still need the 2 forms notarized. So
You can go to your bank. I don't know what the problem
know.
is. Maybe I have a bank.
or the UPS store usually always has a notary, and I suggested that to you.
Yeah,
So,
I know you did.
anyway,
Isla. Yeah.
But it's really cool that, all in all, this year, because there was no RYE, the board voted to go ahead and take the money that was slated for RYE in the budget, add $100 to it, and our club is this year sponsoring 2 students to S4TL. So
Yeah, the program, the Rotary Youth Exchange is great, but the umbrella organization, it's not COVID. The umbrella
Right.
organization is not together at this moment. So we
Yeah.
need some other entity to take on the responsibility, because the district alone cannot shoulder that. And so S4TL is just a week, which is nice. And but the kids have to get from St. Pete, where we got them, to Lakeland, Florida Southern, and then back from there. So I usually am not necessarily here, but my mom's doing so okay. She's losing her mental faculties now, sadly at 93. I've read to her for 2 hours every day until this year, and now it's kind of not able. I'm not able to do that anymore, which is freeing up my voice, but it's still I'm
Yeah,
happy to Yeah, I'm having to do recertification for online teaching, by the way, which is interesting because exactly 3 years ago during COVID, we all did that. 60 professors had to all of a sudden learn how to online teach. And now we're back to having to recertify, which means that I could continue from anywhere in the world, continue teaching.
Oh, that's good.
That's real important. That also
Cool.
is sort of disaster preparedness of
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Will.
You're
So
very
it was-
welcome.
it was
Yeah,
fun,
thanks.
informative, and got us all to join in a little bit, and so cool. So I've talked about the next meeting, July. My father is working on another speaker. July is usually for our club a bi-month, but if this other person, if that's the only month that he can speak, then I will let everybody know, and we will have a meeting in July. And if you have any ideas for speakers, let either myself or Malona know. We are starting something as, of course, as 1 July. There'll be some changes and whatnot. We are going to say, okay, like Andy Hammond, your vocational service chair, and I've asked you this before. Can you find a speaker for January? Suzanne being youth chair, could you find a speaker for what, that month?
I'm usually easy to be your speaker, so I'm
Yeah.
getting feedback. I don't know whose feedback I'm getting, but yeah. No, I'm just saying there's a lot of things this year that can be brought in. Absolutely.
Sure.
My biggest problem is I cannot be there on Monday nights. So I
Right.
teach on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that's just the way it is. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, if you can just supply a speaker, and of course it'll be recorded, and we might go ahead, we are going to set up another survey. It's been about 3 years, and we're going to set up another survey,
Club service.
club survey, and send it out sometime first quarter of the new Rotary year. So, all right.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. I know you want to stop.
That's okay.
Will, you pulled up the map of the Rotary Club, and there were red stars. Now, I assume they were not political stars, so because there are red stars from Macy's department store and and the like, and flags of other sorts. But what were they? What did they mean? Members?
Yeah, they're kind of the general area where some of our members reside.
Mm-hmm. So the Eastern European one, where was that?
Well, I think we've only got you.
I think that was for when you're in Germany.
Well, it looked like Ukraine. I was just wondering, like,
No.
have we acquired more members? And I just didn't get it. So no. Okay.
No.
Sorry
then-
to ask, but that looked further, than I
Yeah,
had
I
remembered.
think everything was a little shifted, but
Yeah.
computers.
No, it's always nice to see that we have worldwide membership. That's certainly part of the club rules. So that's nice.
I'm also working on a Google Calendar that will list where all of our members basically are located. So when that's finished, I'll send that out.
Oh, great.
Cool. All right. Anything else? Going once? Going twice? Have a good evening. I hope to see some of you on Wednesday. Again, it will be recorded. So, but anyway. And then Dad, if you want to stay on, we can talk real quick.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Night,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night.
Okay.
That wasn't cool. All right. I think, Ray, I don't think we're going to have a BOD meeting because there's just basically the three of us. Unless there's something that you wanted to contribute.
No, Alicia, I sound like a broken record, but what's happening with the finances and getting some other people on the account?
Malona we're gonna put Malona on. It's a good thing that she only lives about a half-hour drive away from me. So we will get her on as soon as she becomes president. So she will be on in July. Right now we're going right into the thick of things with Camp Florida. So and Liz just got over COVID. So she's kind of behind the 8 ball right now, but we'll get Malona on. So it'll be at least the 2 of us that'll be on the account as of, like I said, within the first couple of weeks of July.
Okay.
So, I could put Will on right now, so I could have a backup because we can go ahead and take you off, and that would at least give us 2 people on. Whatever you're comfortable with, though, too.
Yep.
Because with our bylaws, we can't put Malone on until July. So. That's where we stand, and it's frustrating with Liz. I'd like to go, hopefully I will have some time, maybe even this summer. I know she's going to be busy, but if she could at all schedule a time with her branch, and Malone and I will personally go up
Okay.
to that branch and say, excuse us, let's get this taken care of. Okay, we could probably do it this month if Malona can get some time off. So that's where it stands.
Okay.
Yeah. Wish I had different news, but I know at least we'll get Malona done in a couple months. So. And then I'll take you off. I should be able to do that.
Yeah, I still have some checkbooks that I'd like to, send to somebody.
Yeah, well, I probably should be able to send them to Liz. She's going to stay on as treasurer this next year.
Yeah.
Or if you want to send them to me, I can hand them to Malona when
Sure.
we get her on the account. I'll just sign up. I'll know she's on. I can hand them right to her.
It's it's really odd that there was a time when we wrote not a lot, but we paid things by check.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that hardly anymore.
Not much.
And I can't remember when I last used a rotary check or a personal check for that matter.
Right. Well, I've sent a couple out this year because I had to send checks for S4TL, and I need to send our $1,000 from the club for shelter box shed. I haven't done that yet, so I need to send that out. But I think I've written about 4 checks this year. But most everything is online. GoDaddy. And every time I get notification of something, I send it to Liz so she can do the books. Okay. That's all I got.
Okay.
Okay. Dad, have you talked to your guy yet for speaker?
Talked to Bob this morning, and he was most appreciative of not having to do it next month.
Oh, good.
Because the last day, a couple of days ago, I talked to him, he was in Massachusetts, and when I talked to him this morning, he was in Mississippi. So projects moving around the country and around the world, because it was, I think a month ago, he's in the Netherlands. So anyway, he's moving. I was under the impression, Alicia, that probably he would be happy if we didn't do anything until